If you think that the advances in AI and computer technology only affect online poker, think twice. Because numerous subtle changes are reaching the live poker scene in 2025. And it's not only technological advancements, but there are also economic impacts that might change live poker. And we also have to talk about poker vloggers and content creators because they too have an impact on the poker community, and it isn't always a good one. But most importantly, how will these upcoming trends in live poker impact your game? Well, I can tell you that if you don't keep up with these changes, you will be left behind. So, in this video, I'm going to show you what changes we can expect in 2025, what impact they will have on the live poker scene, and what you have to do to stay or become profitable. My name is Andreas Wagner. I've played live poker for a decade and I'm a live poker coach. And here is what you need to know about live poker in 2025. Let's start with what I think could be the worst change of all. Poker rooms across the world face one big problem, and that is inflation. Obviously, every industry is affected by inflation. If the producers of crisps, or chips as they are called in many countries, because in the UK we call fries chips, and therefore chips are fries. Anyway, if the producers of these yummy little unhealthy things need to increase their revenue, they can either hike the prices of the individual packs, or they can shrink the amount of chips in the pack and keep the price as it is. Then that's called shrinkflation. If you're a lawyer or a doctor or a cleaner or a car mechanic, you can increase the prices of your services as well. Poker rooms do the same, but it is a harder sell to their customers because a higher rate means lower earnings for the good players and even bigger losses for the not so good players. And reducing the size doesn't really work. Poker rooms can't just magically shrink the size of the poker table. Some casinos have started reducing the comps and perks for players though. I know of one poker room that has stopped paying any comps to their players, but all it did was to have more disgruntled players. So what's the solution? Well, there isn't a good one, but casinos around the world have come up with two ways of dealing with their increased costs. One, they do increase either the rake or the cap for the rake, or two, they get rid of the lowest stakes. In the UK, many poker rooms used to have 1-1 games in pounds, and now the smallest games are often 1-2. In the US, many rooms have got rid of their 1-2 games, and 1-3 is now the smallest game. This has already been going on since the pandemic, but I think that this trend will exacerbate in the next months and years. What this means for us as players, whether your casino is getting rid of the smallest games or not, you should always aim to play slightly higher games if you're a winning player. Thus, the rake increase will have less of an impact. And if you keep playing the 1-2 games, you have to be aware that your win rate will decrease slightly if poker rooms continue to raise the rake. But there is a counter movement to all this, and I'm going to talk about that now. You might have noticed that over the past couple of years, dozens of vloggers have popped up on YouTube and other platforms. They vlog about high-stakes games, low-stakes games, and everything in between. They show incredible hands, bad beats, the whole range of emotions. And these videos are extremely popular. I can only imagine that in the future there will be even more vloggers, more videos, more ridiculous action on screen. In fact, I'm planning to do a live low-stakes vlog myself. Let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to do that. Anyway, all this advertisement for live poker will have an even bigger effect than we have seen so far. Even more inexperienced live players will join the action in their local card room, trying to imitate their idols' play. So I'm not worried about live poker, even if the WSOP has changed its rule and won't allow phones on the table during their big events, because this shouldn't have an impact on cash games. There will be new players and liquidity in the game, and players who know what they're doing and are disciplined will continue to make decent money from the game. However, it's essential to be realistic about these new players. All these vloggers have not only changed the game for the good. While they drive growth and entice new players to go to a live card room, they have also democratized the knowledge of poker strategy. I remember Phil Ivey once said that in the old days, the good players never gave away their strategies. Thus, they could win millions of dollars from players who weren't smart enough to figure out the strategy themselves. Compare that to 2025, where information is available for free everywhere. Channels like mine help a lot of players to become better. As a result, the days of finding a table full of complete novices might start to dwindle even if new players are joining the fray. Instead, you'll see more players who understand basic concepts like position, bet sizing, and even bluffing frequency. And I think this will be the biggest change we will see. In Europe, this development has already happened, driven by access to online poker. If you walk into a card room in Northern Europe or even in London, at times, raise sizes come straight from GTO solvers and the only limper is a guy who broke his foot. Games in the US are still very far from this, but I think that with every year that passes, the player pool will inevitably get better. You can already see the difference between now and, say, 15 years ago. There are now even AI tools that analyze live poker hands, like Vinton, the incredible chatbot who can tell you quickly if you made a mistake in a hand. I recorded a video about this impressive tool. If you want to watch it after this one, I left the link in the description below. And quite frankly, I could see that all these vloggers will in some way even reduce the action. If inexperienced players know that they are being recorded, they might just play tighter and more straightforwardly out of fear of embarrassment. And then there is one more thing that many players forget about, but if economists were to talk about poker, they would call it a cyclical industry. Cyclical industries do well when the economy does well, and they do poorly when the economy does poorly. The last few years have been great in terms of the economy, especially in North America. The stock market, crypto, house prices, everything has been on an upward trajectory for years. But 2025 could be the year when this changes. And if it does, then there will be less liquidity in the market, while at the same time some better players might rejoin the games after they lose their job. Now, I don't think it will all be doom and gloom. As I said, there is still plenty of money to be won. But I do think that you need to adapt. How do you do that? If you want to be a consistent winner in 2025, you will have to improve your fundamentals, because the stronger and tighter the player pool becomes, the better your fundamentals have to be. And if you want to learn 4 fundamentally sound plays that already work in live poker and will become even more important in the future, then watch this video here.